So on run 6, we find a pull rune. Run 11, we find Titans. On run 14, we find a 7%er magic find jewel, small charm. And run 19, we get an And on run 28, we find an Pretty good start thus far, I'd say. And on run 28, we find a unique ring. And it is a dwarf star. 31, we find a pretty cool assassin helmet. And on run 80, we find 40% chance card. And there's an Istrun on run 85. And on 97, we find a Geeds. Absolute trash. 108, we find Razortail. And I have already forgotten what the ring is. Ooh, that is pretty nice. And then on run 114, find a shitty small charm and a unique ring that is Ravenfrost. And on run 121, we find not the first pair of Trang gloves, and definitely not the last ones. But I still decided to include them. And on 125, we find a small charm, a 20 lifer, and 138, we find a unique rune staff, which is the Skull Collector. First time I've actually seen that one, I just thought it was interesting. 157, we find an Ethereal Blood Moon, cool Merc weapon. Then we find a Menald. And then another unique ring. And apparently I don't know how the cube works. Hey, another Menald. And then 166, we find a Rune Master. Now, this is actually the very first time I found a 5-socket one. I thought that was cool. And on 172, we find a Warcry Skiller. 182, we find a small charm with a 17 mana. Run 190, another small charm. Another 20 lifer. And there we have a unique amulet on 228. So at 240, blink and you miss it. Did you see it? Well, there's a unique ring. And another Nagel. Ooh, what's over here then? Oh, a Shaco. A 129 Shaco. At 244, we find another unique amulet. And it's a Mara! 20 fucking 8. Then we find another pool. 253. Find unique ceremonial pike. 1% off perfect ED and life leech. And there's another unique ring on 253. And another Nagel. 270, another unique ring. And another dwarf star. A perfect dwarf star. At 274 we find a cold skiller. At 280 find another grand charm. +1 curses. And at 286 we find another Shaco. 129 deja vu. And at 338 we find a combat skiller. 343 a perfect Talrasha belt. 351 another unique ring. Disappointment drum roll. Another dwarf star. 358. Another unique amulet. Nokozan. 366. Another unique ring. And dwarf star. 375, we find another Geeds. 9434. 281. Another unique ring. Ravenfrost, shitter roll. 384. Another unique amulet. Jesus. The Rising Sun. 388. We find drumroll. Another pool. 397.
I can't carry anymore.
Vex. So far, 2 good runes. 404, not found. 406, we find a Tal weapon. 222. 416, we find a pair of Water Walk. Perfect Life. 432, we find the Guardian Angel. 196 CD. And seconds after, we find a Mal. 442, we find another combat skiller. Sadly, Barbarian. 466, we find some pretty damn cool gold fine boots. And on the very last one, we find a unique jewel. 4 lightning. What's up, Kyuzou here, and I leveled a barb just for this. So the last time I farmed Trav was about a year ago on my sorceress, where I did 300 runs, and in only 100 I managed to get a low and a burr rune. So I rewatched that video yesterday or something, and dear lord, what a shitty video. It was laggy, it was horrible or no footage, and there was like a 10-hour intro before we even got to the good stuff. I cannot believe people actually hit the like button on that video. Speaking of a 10-hour intro, so it's probably been, well, at least 15 years since I last played a barb. But I have never played a Magic Find barb before, and it's been a learning curve. Especially with potion management, stun locking with leap, using howl at the right spots. But eventually we got there. So the first 20, 25, 30 runs or so, I was eating rejuve potions like candy. Like, oh dear lord, I was eating rejuve potions. But I managed to get it down to I want to say maximum of 1 per run. Kind of depends on the affixes on the elites and how they spawn, like how tightly grouped they spawn. I also learned the hard way to not chase stragglers off screen, because apparently that will despawn the corpses. Now, let's have a look at my setup before we get to the actual highlights. So, let's start with my Merc setup. I do not have a Merc setup, because even with Fortitude and Andy, he gets one shot every single run. So if anyone has suggestions, I'm all ears. Or if it's just straight up impossible to run with a Merc, I don't know. I tried. Well, I was running the classical Act 2 Merc, but I tried an Act 5 Merc Frenzy setup. He survived way better. Sometimes he never even died, but yeah, like 90% of the times, he would still fucking die. Anyway, so my gear. So for the first 200, 250 runs, I was running with a chammed Shaco, which gives me Canopy Frozen, along with these boots. Now, I do have War Travelers, but they're on my Sorceress, and I don't like swapping gear around a lot, so these are pretty sick still, but I really wanted to try a different setup, but it was, but I used my only cham, so I had to get a new one, which was tricky, because ladder is fucking dead, trade is fucking dead, so it's really difficult to get a second cham, but once I did, I swapped to a 2 Topaz Immortal King's Head, along with Immortal King boots for the 2 sets. So this, I lose, like 20-ish percent extra gold, and I get like 30% more magic find or so. Anyway, yeah, that's those two. We're running a High Lords. We are running a Grief, and our second weapon is an Alibaba. I am not using a 6-socketed 6-isted weapon because, well, I don't have the ists, and I want as much gold find as I can as well. So I prefer this setup. Even if I did have a 6-socket sword, I would still prefer the Alibaba. We have a Dwarf Star for the gold find, but mainly the magic damage reduced and the fire absorb, mainly. We are using a gold wrap, and we are using a 29% Nagel, and we are using a 40% chance card. Spoiler alert, I actually found these during the run, so before I found these I had a 37% pair. What have I not shown? The chest. So once I got my second cham, I put that in this chest. And I really, really, really like this chest because it's got +1 all skills, it's got decent defense, got good life, but most importantly, it's got 25 all res. So my resists are kinda, and without it, it's even more. So yeah, I really like this chest. As for the things in my thing, we have a torch, an Annie, and then I have a Geeds, shitty gold roll, but whatever. And then I have some max damage ones that I found during the runs. I was running with like masteries, I was running with combats, I was running like with whatever, but The max damage ones is way better damage than any skiller. The rest is fire and poison res, and what isn't fire and poison res is 5% magic find. I think I even have that one. I have one poison damage charm. I don't know why, but I do. Weapon swap, we have a teleport one. I was weapon swapping to double heart carver for a bit, because that would put me at 74% find item, because right now
Not in town.
I have 70%. So I was finding more items, but the magic find is of course a lot less. So, right, I also got that. So we are rocking 764% extra gold and 467% magic find. So with the weapon swap, I would go down to like 300, I guess. So the skill tree, I guess, and then we should be done. I sincerely apologize for this long ass intro. Maybe I should just have this at the end of the video. You know what? Let's do that. Let's put all this bullshit at the end of the video, because you didn't come here for this part of the video. You came for the good stuff. Anyways, let's just start with combat. Max out Berserk, get one in Leap. We're using swords, so we're maxing out Blade Mastery, and then one in Stamina, one in Speed, one in Iron Skin, and one in Resistance. So obviously, by using the Immortal King, which gives me +2 war cries rather than the Shaker that gives +2 all, we are losing out on a bit of resist, defense, you know, speed and stamina. But yeah, it's kind of whatever. As for the war cries, we're putting a lot into battle orders because that's what synergizes with Berserk. So battle orders gives me, you know, obviously life and then damage. 1-1-1, and then we max out Find Potion, and then we just put in enough for find items because it has like diminishing returns. I seriously have no idea how this works, because sometimes you can put like 3 points in and you don't get an extra %, and sometimes you put 1 point in and you get 1 extra %. So yeah. Excuse me. So ideally you want to hit 75%, but at level 89, I believe I am, I have absolutely no idea how to hit 75% without double heart carver. Again, this is my very first time playing a magic find barb. I have no idea how like any of this theory crafting thing works. But yeah, whether I decide to put this as an intro or an outro, I haven't decided yet. Either way, if you enjoyed my misery or luck and whatever, or just enjoyed whatever, hit that like button and I will see you the next video. Bye!